Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, wherever in the world you're currently listening to our video blog and podcast. My name is Al Mina with the Face Economics podcast. Today is September the 25th. A couple more days, and it'll be October again. This year is definitely soon by, but you know that is how things seems to be. If you're busy and you're looking to be productive, you just lose, you know, uh, track of time, unfortunately. But it's been an interesting year, and I think within the next couple of months, it's definitely going to be even more interesting. With that said, folks, I apologize. I haven't been doing my podcast lately since I've been working on various projects. But I just thought I connect with you and kind of opine on some of the really ridiculous things that I've been hearing in the news, and even tragedies that you never thought would manifest in today's America. But unfortunately, there are still people in this country that are stuck on stupid, and they want to preserve that you know uh, way of operating. So yeah, I just figured I talk to you about the Democrat Party. Okay, the Democrat Party has always been, an institution that promotes and claims to champion um, equality, civil rights, human rights, you know, um, anti-racism, anti-marginalization of uh, various people groups, pro-immigrant. They claim to be pro-immigrant, but yet, if you really look at their track record, one begs, question their overall agenda. So, yeah, there's this one girl from Ukraine, a refugee that tried to escape the conflict in Ukraine, who was murdered on a public transportation, and nobody even lift a finger to help her. She was surrounded by other fellow passengers, and not one tried to provide assistance to her or even provided comfort to her when she was being attacked. Okay, she's Ukrainian, young girl, very beautiful young Ukrainian girl who tried to escape, the conflict in her home country and ended up perishing in America. Okay, did you hear anything from the Democrat Party condemning that attack? No, wasn't one Democrat that opined and said, "Oh, guess what? This isn't acceptable, and we need to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law whoever perpetrated that, heinous crime." Not one. Okay, folks. So it's not really pro-immigrant, for within the Democrat Party. No, doesn't seem like it. And I'm going to provide, proof to everything that I'm talking about. Okay, vis-a-vis my own personal experience with the Democratic Party, because I have myself have come across a lot of disingenuous and disjointed uh, narrative that these Democrat politicians tend to go out there and stuff and champion, saying that they're pro, civil rights, pro human rights, anti-marginalization of the minority community. But guess what, folks? The proof is in the pudding, and right now you can't do any eating whatsoever. So also this issue with um, Charlie Kirk's, assassination. Okay, never in my wildest dream that a young 31-year-old influencer who just was basically sharing his thoughts and provoking other people to think would be attacked the way Charlie Kirk was attacked in front of his wife and two young children. Okay, folks. And here comes the Democrats, led by Alexandra Ocasio Cortez and Ilhan Omar and everybody else within the Democratic Party who claims to be the totem bearer of the values of their organization, of their party. Okay, they were attacking Charlie Kirk. I don't know if they've actually met him or have had some sort of dialogue with Charlie Kirk, but yet they were fast to condemn whatever it is that they think he was saying or whatever it is that he meant, according to their overall justification of their position regarding Charlie Kirk. Okay. But with this said, if you really look into the backgrounds of these two, Alexander Cortez, Ocasio-Cortez, and Ilhan Omar, and everybody else is attacking Charlie Kirk after he was assassinated, you know, in front of his children and wife. Let's look into their background. What were they doing before they were elected into office? What was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doing? What was Ilhan Omar doing to even opine on what Charlie Kirk, okay, had managed to accomplish at 31-year-old, as a 31-year-old guy, okay? Just compare their, background, okay, folks. Neither Ocasio-Cortez nor Ilhan Omar became famous up until they were put into office, okay, by their supporters. They haven't really influenced anyone prior to gaining, access to their office. None of them even served in the national military or any form of U.S. national service, okay? And yet, here they are attacking Charlie Kirk. So think about what I'm sharing with you folks, okay? They were attacking someone who had influenced the younger population of this country. Charlie Kirk was actually being listened to by thousands and thousands of college-age kids. And, throughout history, these demographic, the younger American college students tend to think very liberally, just because of how many of our institutions in America tend to support a very liberal way of thinking. And that's just the, overall situation in public schools throughout, or public colleges in America. But yet there were people, young, Americans that are listening to Charlie Kirk's, conservative values. And, he tried to provoke their thoughts, and he keeps on winning hearts and minds. Okay, folks. And he even managed to influence people abroad. Okay, Charlie Kirk did. And then here comes CNNs and all these national news organizations interviewing Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, asking them to provide an opinion regarding Charlie Kirk's, unfortunate, very stupid, evil assassination. And they publish it. They actually talked about, what they think about someone who they'll never amount to. Okay, folks, consider what I'm talking about, because right now, this movement, Turning Points movement has become not just a conservative movement today. It's now a national movement and an international movement that so many people have joined force with Turning Point in support of, free speech, dissent, and your ability to exercise, your God-given right to share your thoughts. Okay, that's all Charlie Kirk was doing. He's sharing his conservative values, he's sharing his political opinion and his religious background. Those are all allowed in America, as far as what I understand. If we're still a democracy, I think those are supposed to be allowed to be exercised in our country. But yet, here comes these Democrat personalities. I mean, I don't even know why they became personalities, because they don't really have much to offer. There isn't a lot of value proposition in their narrative. Okay, folks, what have they done before they got access to their position that they basically use as a bully pulpit to attack influencers that have done so much more with their lives compared to just being appointed into a position, a public office position by, people that were in their district. It's not 100% people in their district that put them in office. It's a portion of those people that showed up and put them in office. So not 100% put these people into office. So now Charlie Kirk's Turning Point organization have basically activated millions and millions of Americans, regardless of your background, conservative or independent. Many of you probably have heard of my background. I've run as a U.S. Senate candidate and as an independent candidate. And so they basically opened a lot of, uh, eyes and minds after they've assassinated a young influencer that have done quite a bit with his life. Okay, folks. I mean, it's phenomenal. I have to give Charlie Kirk a lot of, kudos for what he managed to accomplish at such a young age. Okay, folks. Um, and all he was doing was using his microphone. Imagine that, fighting with just his voice, influencing the world and the younger, uh, students and liberal universities with just his voice and his microphone. Okay, folks. So yeah, think about it. And then there's this idiot, this imbecile, late night show who's really not that funny. Jimmy Kimmel was starting to use his platform to opine on what took place in Utah when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And then I go and look around for Jimmy Kimmel's bio. I was like, oh, okay, what's his expertise, or what is his overall, background that he's made him so prominent to attack somebody that have led a national movement to basically improve our society, to increase our efficiency, to bring us back to, you know, uh, uh, clear thinking. Our ability as Americans to operate, optimally and efficiently. What has Jimmy Kimmel done, okay, with his life? I mean, somebody put him in front of a camera to talk about smack, to talk about other people, to make fun of this immigrant Mexican sidekick that he basically enslaved. He's basically used the guy as a prop so that people would be laughing at this Mexican guy who barely speaks English. I know I'm not dogging the guy for barely speaking English. I mean, I have people in my family, and that don't speak English, and I myself have learned other languages. So I'm not dogging, his psychic, because obviously his psychic's probably never going to make as much money as he was making, being laughed at by Jimmy Kimmel. And so, what kind of, people would be watching that kind of comedy anyway? Making fun of, someone who's an immigrant that barely speaks English. Not comedy, in my opinion. Okay, folks. And yet he opines on Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's a laugh, because he hasn't done anything with his life. What does he have to show for? Nothing. Okay, he's ABC and Disney and whoever it is that put him on that time slot, and broadcast his comedy is not even clear thinkers, in my opinion. They're not really providing value to anyone. Okay, maybe to those imbeciles that watches Jimmy Kimmel, maybe that's the only value that they're really creating for those imbeciles, that they put another imbecile in front of these imbeciles watching them, and that's why they're watching them. But in all reality, what kind of person would use another person who barely speaks English and is from another country, came to America as a prop, as one of those joke, doesn't make sense to me at all. Who would be watching that kind of garbage to begin with? And then he's been put back, okay, to influence people again, which I just don't get it. Why would people, support that kind of comedy to begin with, especially these corporations? Makes no sense whatsoever. That's why we have a lot of problems in our country, stereotypical kind of stuff that it just doesn't justify a clear-minded society, in my opinion. Anyway, Yeah, you know, Jimmy Kimmel was actually supporting Stephen Colbert also when uh, when Stephen Colbert show is supposed to be canceled. Everybody, you know, went up in arms and trying to basically uh, fight back. You know, they're saying that that silencing free speech and you know it's not very transparent. Whatever. You know, what would they know about democracy? What would they know about transparency when they haven't really done anything with their lives to support you know democracy in our country? They've never served in the U.S. military. They've never served in anything nationally. You know, like service wise uh, anywhere. Okay, folks. So that's just something that I want to point it out because at this point in the game, all right, folks, uh, people that are voicing their opinions really doesn't have anything. You know, they're just opinions, and the national news tend to cover them because they're trying to make money and gain eyeballs using obnoxious and outlandish rhetoric and you know very vindictive and negative narratives against people that are trying to preserve our republic, that are trying to bring some sort of, you know, normalcy in our disjointed and fast, you know, deteriorating society. Okay. Charlie Kirk, at 31 years old, managed to go to various universities, public universities. Okay. And these tends to be very liberal in the way they operate and the way that they, you know, indoctrinate our children, basically. And yet he manages to get them to think, okay, and reflect on what he's saying and make sense out of it. Okay. So what's Ilhan Moore have done with her life before she got elected to office? What's Alexandria Cortez doing with her life before she got put in Congress? Okay, uh, still big question mark here. Nothing that is compelling enough to really, you know, take them seriously. But yet people elected them. Not 100% of the people in their district elected them. Whoever, you know, the people that showed up ended up winning because not everybody voted. Okay, and so the people that did vote, you know, maybe a small fraction of their population managed to elect her. And there's a lot of ways to, you know, these kind of, you know, electoral, I don't know, how would you even put it? Uh, Electoral gerrymandering, I guess. But you know, New York has always been a liberal city and state, I guess, and even parts of Michigan or whatever state. You know, these talking heads came from. I really, you know, don't really care much about those districts where they uh, hail from because I know those districts probably are not that smart anyway to begin with. I mean, who would put a representative in public office that doesn't really have anything to, you know, show for? I mean, as a representative, why would you elect somebody that has no real credibility? I mean, matter of fact, I tried to reach out to Alexandria Cortez's office, you know, a couple of years back when she was looking to run for office, and I was going to ask her, okay, what have you done? What kind of material have you produced? Are you even credible to represent a community? They didn't want to meet with me. Okay, I requested to meet with them so that I know exactly what it is that they're looking to, you know, do and would like to represent, but didn't hear back from them. So that just shows you, okay, that these people got, you know, put in a power because of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has a well uh, oiled, you know, engine, if you want to even use it, you know, with using that analogy. They have a machine and they have a lot of money and power, and they put whoever it is they feel would basically sway the public. Okay, you don't have to have any form of credibility. You don't have to have any, you know, relevant experience. Okay, or even expertise, unfortunately. And that's been the modus operandi of the Democrat Party. It's just a representational type of engagement. They're not really looking out for the best interests of the party, whoever it is that supports the party. They are there to put on a show. It's all a show. And as I mentioned, I was reviewing Alexandria Cortez's background and bio and Ilhan Omar's bio. I'm not very impressed with them at all. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm perfect, but I certainly have the right and the credibility to opine on their background because I've actually served in the U.S. Peace Corps, making $200 a month for 28 months serving my country, and I was working as an employee of a multi-million-dollar consulting firm out of Northern Virginia, and I left that job so I could serve my country. It wasn't the most convenient engagement to partake on because I was only making not even a third of what I was making working for a multinational company, but I decided to serve my country before I get into the rut of professional life and having to support a family and not have the time to serve my country. So I took that sacrifice on. And so there's a lot of things that I still don't understand how Ilhan Omar, okay, I know she's come from an immigrant background as well, as she's got no credibility whatsoever, other than being put in her position by the Democratic engine. Okay, so is Alexandria Cortez and so many other Democrat politicians, in my opinion. Okay, folks, and they have that audacity to opine on Charlie Kirk's overall contribution to American society. Okay, but what have they done for America? Okay, other than attacking people that have done something for the country. Okay, folks. With this said, my name is Aldous Mina with the Face Economics podcast and Face Economics TV YouTube channel. I am also the concept author of the book Face Economics. It's a series of book material that talks about the evolution of the global marketplace and economic development, as well as how the social media platform is, significantly transitioning into a market architecting institution. Okay, so that's just a reality that we're up against now. I've actually tried to petition to have Mark Zuckerberg be, tried and be held accountable for what he's allowed for his platform to be used against the American public. It violated the public trust of Americans and people overseas as well. So I put out a petition. I still can't get traction to it. I don't know if I'm being silenced because I've been silenced many times. Even when I was running for U.S. Senate, I was silenced by local, news organization and national news organization. They want to cover my, my campaign. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of these social media giants are silencing me today. But that's fine. I don't care. I'll still continue to talk. Whoever wants to listen can listen, and see if it makes sense to them or not. But that's just the modus operandi of these social media giants. If it's not fitting in their narrative, and if they feel as if you're becoming a potential threat to their platform, then they will automatically silence you. Okay, and I've kind of gotten used to it. I know there are a lot of nefarious organizations out there, even rogue government, entities that are trying to silence me and trying to basically interrupt my overall, mission, which is to bring transparency and promote democracy, freedom of speech, limiting marginalization and racism in our country, as well as protecting civil and human rights, all of which the Democrat Party is not interested in preserving. So yeah, that's why I'm talking to you guys now. Okay, because I know that ultimately those that really care about America and those that are friends of our country would want to see us, preserve our overall sovereignty and our overall, aspiration to be a force of good in this world. Okay, because the past, administration did not provide that, option to the world. They didn't even give uh, that support to marginalized Hispanic American who suffered and was extorted uh, and then tortured in Ukraine. Okay, Gonzalo Lira. I mean, the past administration didn't even protect that American who was marginalized basically by the Biden administration, who was, trying to get out of Ukraine and went on his social media platform and asked for support and assistance, and none was provided because he was trying to de-escalate the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Okay, Gonzalo Lira's, overall, I guess, fault was trying to preserve peace and try to, de-escalate the war between Russia and Ukraine and, protect as many lives as possible with his own life. And so he was basically put in jail for that and, tortured and extorted. And he said this himself on his YouTube channel. Okay. Uh, but anyway, folks, there's going to be, forces of evil in this world, and there's always going to have to be a force of good. If the force of good is always trampled on by the forces of evil in this world, we won't have much of a world. Okay, and not even in the U.S., we won't have much of a country. So, yeah, with that said, folks, again, the Democrat Party's agenda is not to preserve civil rights, not to preserve human rights, not to protect legal immigrants, not to protect, our freedom of speech, the democratic process in our country. They're not interested in diplomacy. Okay, I know this because I've experienced all of this stuff that I'm telling you. Okay, folks, and I mean, I've been marginalized and requested assistance from the Biden-Harris administration. They wrote me a letter back, but they didn't follow through. 4 years that they were in office, they didn't do jack squat to provide aid, relief, or justice. And yet they sent me this letter saying that, oh, well, we're going to be on top of this. None of it was true. The letter that the paper was the letter that the paper is written on is basically has no value whatsoever. But yeah, that's the Democrat, party for you guys, right? They're not interested to support the immigrant population in this country. They're not interested in protecting minority rights. If that were to be the case, then you know what? All the crap that I had to deal with wouldn't have been possible to happen because there would have been some sort of intervention from the Democratic Party. Not one politician, not one Democrat politician provided assistance to me in trying to get aid, relief, and justice in my case. All right, folks. So, yeah, and I'm not trying to dog, these politicians. I'm just telling you my personal experience with them. The 4 years, and even doing as far as back as the Obama Biden administration. So with this said, my name is Al Mina. I'm the concept author of Basic Economics, the utilization of the social media platform in economic development. Thank you for listening to our podcast, and thank you for watching us on our YouTube channel. Leave us a comment if there's anything that you want me to clarify or expand on, whatever. Yeah, good or bad, I can take it. I'm not trying to, dictate to you what you should think. I'm not here to influence you one way or the other unless you exercise your own judgment and you actually allow your brain capacity to operate. Okay, don't be stuck on stupid. This is what I would tell you. Being stuck on stupid will not get you to where you want to go in life. Being in your comfort zone 24/7 is not going to get you where you want to go in life. All right, folks. Anyway, yeah. So again, let me reiterate that the Democrat Party, led by Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have no real credibility. Okay, folks. What have they done? to opine on the life of Charlie Kirk to begin with. I don't know if they've personally met him. I don't know if they've engaged on a debate with Charlie Kirk. Doesn't seem like. I don't think they'll win. I don't think that they even would hold a candle, um, trying to counter many of the clear-minded thinking that thoughts and ideas that Charlie Kirk tend to deploy. All right, folks. I don't think they can even debate anyone that is a part of the Turning Point organization or any of the supporters of Charlie Kirk. To be honest with you, I'd love to debate either one of these two. Okay, well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Ilhan Omar or anybody that wants to demerit the contribution of Charlie Kirk to our society and to this world. With this said, folks, thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next engagement. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.